Let's talk succession planning and the emotional toll on all sides that it can take, but it doesn't need to take. My name is Shelley Smith, and I'm the owner of Premier Rapport, where culture matters. Today, let's talk a little bit more about succession planning. Unfortunately, it's something that not enough is spoken of really on a continual basis within most organizations. I most definitely get a lot of phone calls about it and do a lot of speaking around succession planning and strategic plans around it. But the reality is, it's not talked about enough. And if so, it just is this really large, how do I get at it? And really the problem is, how do you get at it ahead of time? So often, actually most often, I'm getting phone calls when people are in a bit of a panic. An organization is in a panic for the typical succession planning instead of the proactive succession planning. What I mean by that is someone is already going out, or there's already a change that's happening, and now the scramble is happening, and they realize that the pipeline for their high potentials really it just doesn't exist. Or, gosh, we've been working with this group of high potentials that were deemed high potentials, but now we're not so sure they really are truly our high potentials. And now what do we do? Or we've had high potentials and we're losing them. We're losing them to the competition. You know, the war on talent is definitely real, and unfortunately, we create that war ourselves, or that war zone ourselves. So let's dive into that a little bit. First of all, I'm going to keep it really simple, and then we're just going to wrap it up. And if you want more information, you're going to contact me, right? Yes, you're going to contact me. So, succession planning, number one, you need to define, what do you mean by succession planning? Because it does scare some people in the organization. And when I say scare, that's not really right. They don't get scared, but they want to know why they're not on the list. And sometimes they don't even want to be on the list. They just want to be asked, right? So you want to be mindful of how you define your succession planning and what that actually means to the rest of your organization, or you use the term high potential. But really, forward thinking, very strategic, long term strategies of succession planning simply means your pipeline is continually being fueled and cultivated and curated for great employees. Great employees, I don't mean just they show up for work. Come on now, they're required to show up for work, right? I mean employees who are fully engaged, fully satisfied, not going to leave you. They love the company, they love everybody that they're working with, and they want to stay there. But to stay there, they have to be seen, valued, and heard. They have to be there for a purpose. So the succession planning and the pipeline and the cultivation and the curation of your team will keep them there. So first, define it. Talk about, why are we doing it? Is it for a replacement? Is it, retirement, key position? Is it having number twos? Is it the protection of our culture? Is it because we're going to have a merger or an acquisition coming on soon? Is it that the economy or our product or our service is going to change? Define why, right? So by defining why can help you define, well, who is it that you're looking for, by first defining who you have that's creating the culture at the top, because remember, culture is actually created by everyone, right, on a daily basis, but defining that as well. So who, when, what does it look like, how will we know when we're doing the right things for our pipeline? And there's all kinds of things that you can do for that, but you can define it. If you have questions, call me. For the pipeline itself, and then understanding what that gap is. So you've got to do some analysis around it, so you understand what the training gap is, the training and the competencies, the training and the people skills, not the soft squishy stuff, not Excel training is what I mean, or project management training, or something specific for a software piece. But what skills are missing that need to be trained and honed in on, and a competency piece. And then from there, you can layer in the different levels of your pipeline, the different needs of your pipeline, the different competencies that go along with that, and then making sure that it's always in a line with the culture. And hopefully you've defined a culture code and minimum, and you go beyond the minimum and create the maximum within your culture. But again, so define what type of success and planning you're looking for, When will you know that it's successful? What are some things that you can look at, measure, start with a benchmark? From there, who are you going to start with? Why are you starting with them? Making sure you're communicating that to the rest of your group so nobody gets emotional, gets their feelings hurt. And then establishing those gaps based on your benchmarks, and then defining and developing that actual training that's needed. Give projects along the way, individual and group. Please don't forget the group projects. We've got to learn how to communicate and collaborate. Even if I'm individually motivated by big picture and I like to run and do results on my own, doesn't mean that I'm never going to have to work with and collaborate others and need to inspire others. So make sure you do mix that up so you can really see who's the cream of the crop, and the areas that need to be developed. And then from the project pieces, feedback. Everybody wants feedback, not once a year feedback, but ongoing feedback. So those are a few tips to get you going on succession planning, or if you've not thought about succession planning, or if you're like, how do I even start this conversation, putting it together? There's a few tips that can get you started. So my name is Shelly Smith. I'm the owner of Premier Rapport. You can check out my websites, some of my other services. Everything that I do is all around the curation of cultures that really rock out organizations and help them with their talent and help them yield the results that they're looking for. So until then, have a great day, and remember, culture matters because people matter.